Sabanzak, and welcome to episode 85 of Books Cubed, the show where I chat with authors you should be reading. It is Thursday, January 7th, 2021, and I've got a great show for you today. I am chatting with Tom Fowler. He's been on the show before. He writes the CT Ferguson mystery series, and he has a new thriller series out also. So let's get right to it, and I will see you after. I am so excited to have Tom Fowler back on the show. Hey, Tom.
Hey, how are you? Glad to be here. Thanks.
I am good. I am good. I am so excited to see that there are 10 books now in the CT Ferguson mystery series. I had you on last year.
Yeah, after number 6 came out, so it's probably about a year and 3 months or so ago-ish.
Yeah, and I see that you've been busy. You have a new series out.
I do.
Tell everybody about that one.
This is the first book here. It's called The Mechanic. It's an action thriller series. When I was sitting, I usually do character first before plot. So when I was coming up with the character, my thought was, well, what if Jack Reacher had a house, a job, and a teenage daughter? And of course, the obvious answer is, well, he wouldn't be Jack Reacher anymore. But he might be someone like Harry Bosch. So I guess you could think of the character whose name is John Tyler in my series as sort of a cross between, just to use two characters that people are familiar with, between Jack Reacher and Harry Bosch.
Oh, nice, nice. Can you read a little?
Sure. Yeah, I will read actually from the first scene.
Oh, good.
And I'm not going to do voices or anything like that because that's not really my thing. I pay someone else to narrate because I'm not very good at it.
That's okay.
All right. There you go. Line it up and squeeze the trigger. John Tyler directed his daughter Lexi using the power screwdriver to tighten a bolt. They both lay under a decade-old Honda Accord coupe in desperate need of a new exhaust system. The old one showed more rust than unmarred metal. Tyler found a replacement which would sound better, add more horsepower through enhanced efficiency, and check in at 10 pounds lighter. Lexi took her free hand off the muffler. I think I got it, Dad. Tyler scooted closer to check their work. All the connections proved solid as he grabbed and tested them. He brought the knowledge and experience to the project, but Lexi did at least half the work. Looks good. We might make a mechanic out of you yet. Lexi squirmed out from under the Honda and stood. Despite the summer heat in the garage, she wore jeans and a long-sleeve shirt. I think that's more your skill set than mine. Tyler crawled out and lowered the powerful jacks holding the coupe up at each corner. You did well, though. I had a good teacher, she said with a smile. It was an expression Tyler missed seeing a lot of while Lexi grew up. Most of this work isn't hard, he said. We tackled the difficult bits when we were under the hood. They both walked into the house and changed into clothes more befitting the weather. At the kitchen counter, Tyler drank from a bottle of water and he pushed one towards Lexi when she sat beside him. Thanks, Dad. It was a lot of work, but I'm glad I have a car. She'd chosen it herself. Like both her parents, Lexi loved driving fast. She and Tyler scoured online listings. He had also looked in the newspaper classifieds, although he didn't confess the low-tech hunt to Lexi, before she selected the right car. Other than the exhaust and the normal wear and tear coming from age, the coupe was in good shape. The combination of the V6 and manual transmission would allow for some fun behind the wheel. I figured you'd be driving it to college, Tyler said. I'm glad you're going online. Lexi unscrewed the cap and downed half the water in a single gulp. I don't feel comfortable going on campus. I know, it's nice to have you here. Lexi had lived with Tyler a little more than a year now. Between deployments and moving around, he'd missed a lot of time during her formative years. A couple months ago, he quit his job with a private security company. With Lexi's mother in jail, Tyler wanted to be a reliable parent. His daughter was too polite to call him out on being absent, but she'd been ecstatic when he resigned. Don't get all sentimental on me, old man. Aren't you supposed to look for a job? Tyler nodded. I need to. It's just weird. Yeah, he said.
Cool, cool. So I'm thinking he's more than just a mechanic.
Yes, yeah. He mentions deployments and stuff like that. He spent 24 years in the Army, some of that in special operations deployed overseas, although his normal Army job was as a mechanic. And then after that, he worked for a private security company for a few years and then quit that to pursue something he always wanted to do, which is work as a classic car mechanic. And he does get a job, spoiler alert, as a mechanic, but his old life isn't finished with him yet. And I'm not giving anything away there because that's in the book description.
Yeah. Yeah. So his past will come back to haunt him, and uh he will have to what's the word I want? Yes, I write for a living. I know words. Um so he said he's gonna have to I have no words. Tell me just a little about what he's gonna have to do.
He's going to have to, embrace the life he left behind, basically, and he doesn't want to be, the soldier, the killer, and all that anymore. He wants to be a mechanic and a dad, and he doesn't really get that choice.
Cool. So
And
his wife is in jail.
yeah, his ex is in jail.
His
Yeah,
ex.
yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And if
Interesting.
I'm working, I just did an outline for the second book, which is on pre-order now. It's a long pre-order. It's not until July, but I wanted to just to have it up there for pre-orders and stuff like that. So we're going to find out a little bit more about what happened to her in the second book.
Nice. And it's a good idea because people, they see a book, and if it's been out for a while, they want to know why there's not another book.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This one, for whatever reason, this month it's selling really well. Thanks to anyone who's listening who bought it. So I figured, you know what, I might as well capitalize on this and get a pre-order up. I don't have a proper cover yet. I made one myself. It looks like I made it myself, but it's just temporary. So after some point after the first of the year, when my designer is back to creating covers again, I'll have a better one up there. But it's just a placeholder cover for now.
Yeah. And the first book has what, 148, 4.5 stars average
Yeah,
on
about that. Yeah,
Amazon.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. How long
Thank
has the
you.
first one been out?
Since October sometime.
Wow, that's great for a
It's
book
really
that's,
done well this month. I wish I could say that there was one thing I did that propelled it, but
I
I
think it's
don't know.
Christmas sales. I've had a great
Maybe.
month for sales also. And I think, especially on Christmas Day, and maybe it's just people
Mhm.
getting new Kindles. For years, people got a Kindle, and I'd
Right.
hear other writers saying, "Oh, I never do ads on Christmas or in December." And I'm thinking, why not? Because
Yeah.
people are getting Kindles and they're looking for things to fill their Kindle with.
Right.
I know I did the same thing when I got my first. What did the Barnes and Noble one? I forget what it was. I found it the other
Look.
day. Even thought I don't even know if I can turn it on, if there'd be anything on it anymore. Do they even do their Nook? Right?
Look. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say they sold off the Nook line, but I'm not sure about that. They were talking about it. I don't know if they ever did, but someone still makes the Nook tablets, and you can put Barnes and Noble books on them. I'm not sure if the Nook is still owned by Barnes and Noble though.
Yeah, it was great because you used to be able to walk into Barnes and Noble, and any book that was in the place you could get on your Nook while you were sitting there.
Right.
So there was it's a great idea. Great idea. But unfortunately, I don't know, they just didn't really jump into the fray that jump into the
Yeah,
stream with Amazon, and they let Amazon take control, which is too bad.
it is.
I hate to have all my eggs in one basket, but I don't know about you, but 99.999% of my sales come from Amazon.
I went wide back over the summer, and month over month, Amazon is still my biggest retailer. But they are, a huge part of the U.S. ebook market, so that's to be expected. But there are days when, not recently, because for some reason the Mechanic has been selling really well, specifically on Amazon. But there have been days since I've gone wide where usually it's Apple who beats out Amazon.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. So, are you going to will this be a long running series like the CT Ferguson?
I hope so. I have plots. I haven't like actually formally written them out, but I have like stuff jotted down for books 3 and 4. And each title is going to have something to do with cars or driving or something like that. So the prequel novella is Midnight Drive, and that details Tyler's last job with the security company and the circumstances under which he quits. And then this
Nice.
book is The Mechanic. The second one is White Lines. The third one tentatively is going to be Highway to Hell. A little ACDC,
Yeah, I
evoking
like
that
that.
there. And the fourth one, I think, is going to be Four on the Floor. Not just because it's the fourth, but I think that title will ultimately fit what I have planned.
Yeah, nice, nice. And they all fit together. They feel like they're a
Mhm.
cohesive unit. Are you done with CT Ferguson
No,
now?
no. I still have the 10th book is on pre-order to come out in early March. Um, at the end of book 9, a lot of things changed for him, especially professionally. He's no longer bankrolled by his parents' foundation at the end
I
of
was
book
wondering.
9.
Yeah, I'm in book 2, so I was wondering when. Yeah, don't tell me too much.
Okay.
Um, I read so many series that
Oh,
I wait
yeah.
till I'm done with each book, and then I go back to the first one and do this, and then I do the second one in each series, and then go back, and then everything stays very
Mhm.
fresh, and I don't feel like
Yeah.
I burn out on that at all.
Yeah. So the big professional change is he no longer has the backing of his parents' foundation. So he has to strike out on his own. And part of the 10th book is him doing that and working, actually for himself now. And then I'm in the process. I use a tool called Plotter now, Plottr.
Oh, I've heard that.
Um, yeah, I like it a lot. It's really good because you can export directly into Scrivener. So if you use Scrivener, and I do, it's very good for that. So I'm using that to do the plot for number 11, which I'm planning to do to put out sometime this fall. I A lot of authors have gained writing time thanks to the pandemic. The opposite has happened to me. So instead of my usual 4 releases a year, I'm planning on 3 next year. If I can somehow scramble together a fourth, great. But I'm going to plan on 3. I got to dial it back a little. I just don't have the time anymore. We're going to do another semester virtually, and that's where I lose a lot of time is on school days.
Yeah, and tell
So
people what that is for anybody who doesn't know.
what is?
Virtual, that you're a teacher.
Oh, I'm my wife is a
Your
teacher
wife's a
actually.
teacher.
She
Yeah.
she does virtual all day.
Yeah.
So I work my day job. Thankfully, I've been working from home since March. Our daughter is in high school in special ed. So a lot of the supports that she would get at school, I mean, the teachers' aides are there on Zoom, but it's not really the same because they can't. It's harder for them to work directly with her. A lot of times I have to be like the intermediary and help out a lot while I'm trying to work my day job and everything else. So sometimes I have to push the day job and they're great about being flexible and allowing me to flex some time to the end of the day. But the time I had to do my writing before was before my wife got home from work basically. And of course she's working from home now too. Everybody's at home. So that hour, 1 to 2.5 hours, depending on what day it was that I had, is gone. So I'm really just finding time here and there to write, and that's why I'm dialing back on my normal 4 to 3. So I'm planning to do CT number 10 in early March, Tyler number 2 in July. I think I put it for, I want to say like the 20th of July, somewhere around the middle,
Like
and
that.
then
Yeah.
come back to CT again in the fall. I don't have a date for that yet, but probably like late October, early November. And if I can
Well,
squeeze another one in somewhere, great, but whatever.
I'm impressed because let's see, I published one book this year, and my editor gets the new book on the 1st of
Oh.
January. 2021.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, 2020, be gone.
Yes.
Um,
God.
so yeah, I was hoping to have 3 out this year, and I don't know. I moved, and all kinds of things happened, and life gets in the way, and
Yeah, I think, considering everything that's happening, you got to be patient with yourself and forgive yourself for missing your self-imposed deadlines and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, there are more important things.
yeah, there are, and I tell my readers, I'm so sorry when they write to me and say, I was looking forward to it coming out, and it was supposed to be out in August.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm a little behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hoping I've got uh, big plans of 3 for next year.
Okay.
Uh, so we'll see. So were you military yourself?
No, I worked for the Army and for the Defense Department as a civilian, as a contractor first, and later as a civilian for a while. Um, but I've never been in the military myself. No.
So how much? What did you do for research for this series, for this new John Tyler series?
Well, I worked around military guys a lot, and my editor was former Army, so he was able to help me fill in a few gaps. And I still know some people who are active duty or recently retired or in the reserves now, and I was able to ask them a few things as well. So it was pretty easy to do, just to reach out to a few people and get some questions answered for things that I didn't know myself.
Nice. Did you, when you come up with these stories, how much of it comes from people that you've chatted with and how much just comes from your own imagination?
Wow. A lot of it is probably like a lot of the bigger story elements are from my imagination, but some of the like the micro scene details and maybe like bits of dialogue might come from people that I've talked to. But I think at the macro level, it's more what I've envisioned for the story, whereas things people have told me are more in the details.
Yeah, yeah. My husband always tells me that without his life, I wouldn't have a writing career because so much of what he's told me stories, he was military, 24 years in the Air Force as a
Mhm.
flyer. And so many of the stories that he told me over the years, I remembered or wrote down, and
Right.
they all appear. They all
Nice.
appear in my books in various stages. And yeah, he's always, he'll read a section or see me talking about it and say, wait a minute, that happened to me. I'm like, I know. I'm just going to borrow that, thanks, and
Yeah.
change it just a little bit. Yeah, yeah. So when are you looking forward to? I know we're all looking forward to days when we can get back and out into the real world and everything. Do you do book fairs or anything like that so people could buy your books in person and meet you?
I've done not necessarily a book fair. I've done a couple of like local conferences. And of course, in early 2020, I ordered because I was planning, I'm going to do all these conferences this year. And I have like boxes of books under my desk in the office. And it's like, I have like five. I mean, I got 5 copies of this one, knowing I'm not going to do anything with them in the near term. But, I might as well add them to my collection of books I can't sell yet. But yeah, so hopefully next year, spring, summer, I don't know, whenever things get back to something approaching normal, hopefully I'll be able to do some more local events and, maybe some, I'm wide now with my print books too. So stores can get them from the Ingram catalog, paperback or hardcover. So I could do events at a store even, and they could just buy the books from Ingram. So
Nice.
hopefully, at some point this year, you know, I was out today with my daughter. We drove past. They just opened a new Barnes and Noble. Perfect timing, right before the pandemic. They opened a new Barnes and Noble, not far from us. Actually, they delayed the opening for a while. I think it opened during the pandemic.
Wow.
But we have a mask mandate in the county, so it's been open. There's people going in and out of it all the time now. At least every time I drive by, there's people going in and out. So it seems like they're doing okay in that location now. But it'd be nice to do events at stores like that again once things are more normal for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to go to meet readers in
Yeah,
person, and
absolutely.
yeah, I only did that a little bit myself, because I've only got 2 books. The fiction. I have 6 nonfiction, but,
Oh.
for the fiction, I've only got 2, but this will be my 3rd one coming out in January, so,
Mhm.
it's and yeah, I've got 1 copy of each book. It's like, I don't want more than that. Even the
I changed a
nonfiction.
bunch of my covers. So I still have like some of my first few books. I still have several of the older covers, and it's like, well, they're not really collector's items because they're not that popular. But
It's hard to, yeah.
rare first edition.
Yeah, I think I changed the cover 4 times, and
Oh
I
wow.
cannot throw them out. The old
Mm.
versions, I've got every single cover. And yeah, it's like in fact, when we moved and we were unpacking, we've been unpacking all of November, and I pulled all the old covers out. I'm looking at these
Mhm.
4 books, thinking, do I really need these? Nobody is going to ask me, do you have any old cover copies of these
Right,
books?
right.
Nobody, but I can't throw them out. I
What I've done
tried.
with some of them, we have these little, I don't know what to call them. They're called like little libraries or something like that.
Yeah, little free libraries in
Yeah, yeah,
parks. I had one
yeah,
by my house. Yeah.
yeah. But you put them in there, and and some people can take them or not, whatever. And sometimes we'll do donations periodically, to like the VVA, the Vietnam Veterans of America, and they take books, and it's like, well, okay, maybe someone will enjoy these books.
That's actually a good idea. Yeah, yeah. I did have some extra copies of one, and I took them
Mhm.
down to the little library and was very pleased. And my husband was making fun of me because I went back a few hours later to check, and someone had taken them.
Of course.
So I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there are children. We want to, when we send them out in the world, we want to, peek around the corner and watch them get on the bus. Just out of sight so they can't see us. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to let go.
It is.
Yeah,
It
it
is.
really is. It is. So I absolutely love CT Ferguson. He's
Thank you.
such a great character. And
Thank you.
and tell people, for anybody who's not heard the first show, run people through a little bit of who he is.
So he is the protagonist of my mystery series, and he is more of a hacker than a detective. That's the background he comes from. He's not former law enforcement or military or anything like that. And he, after finishing college, he goes overseas, ends up in Hong Kong for about 3.5 years or so, working with some hackers over there. Eventually gets arrested, thrown in jail, and deported back to the US after a while. And his parents, who have money, make him get a job that helps people, or they threaten to cut him off because he burned through a lot of his money doing all his Hong Kong stuff. So the first book is called The Reluctant Detective because at that point he is a reluctant detective. He's doing it, to get back into their good graces, and he thinks that's what sounds the most interesting. And over the course of the series, he matures quite a bit and really comes to appreciate helping the people he helps because he doesn't charge his clients. His parents pay him through their foundation. So he doesn't work for like the large insurance company who wants to investigate, some guy who might be cheating us or whatever. He's working for, people who probably can't afford a normal private investigator. And those are usually the clients that he has. They're dissatisfied with what the police have done, and he's looking into unsolved murders and things like that. It's always got to be a big crime like that. Nobody's going to bring in a detective because you lost a ham sandwich. It's got to be something serious. So he works cases like that for people who don't have a lot of other recourse, and he grows up a lot over the course of the books. And as of book 10, I don't know how long this is going to be the case, but he's out on his own for now. His parents are no longer supporting his work.
So does that mean he's going to have to start charging people?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, and that means because I know in the first two books, he's like, well, he can say no to things he doesn't want to do because he's pro bono.
Right.
So, and I like the idea that you have him changing. There's a lot of long-term series out there that are 10, 15, 20, 30 books long, and the characters never change.
Right.
And you see the same thing in every book. And after the fifth or sixth book, you're absolutely, you just can't read any more of them because you know exactly what to expect. And I absolutely, I'm not going to mention any, and I know people are immediately going, I know exactly what you're talking about. um, but yeah, really. But I like the idea of the changing and the growing up a little bit. So you see a little bit of something different in every book. And yeah, I like, don't tell us whether, do we know at the end of 10 book 10, what his future is going to be like? I mean, is it still,
Yeah, he's still going to be out on his own for a little while.
oh, I like that.
Um,
I like that.
he does talk to his parents during the course of the book. Their relationship's a little frosty at this point. But if you read all the books in order, you definitely see him grow up from. He's a little bit of a jerk when he comes back from Hong Kong in the first book.
Well, I thought in book 2 he was already becoming less of a jerk.
Yeah, yeah. He still keeps that kind of witty, sarcastic edge to him, but the jerkiness aspect of it gets toned down a lot as he grows up and sees a lot and experiences a lot of things and helps a lot of people.
So you've got that series and you got the John Tyler series.
Yep.
Is there a third series that you're mulling over, or are you just going to work on these two for a while?
I'm probably going to work on these two for a while, especially with my time being a little more compressed for at least the first half of this coming year. But years ago, this is probably 2004, 2005, I wrote a couple of spy thriller novels that if I went back and read them today, I'm sure they would be terrible. I'm sure they would be awful.
Yeah.
But I think the protagonist I think was pretty good, and the stories, they probably need a little touching up and modernizing since they were 15 years old at this point. But there's probably something usable there. So maybe at some point in 2022, I guess I might do something like that. It really depends on how the CT series is going, how the Tyler series is going. Um, how much time I have.
Yeah, yeah, because you said you have two CT Ferguson books coming out next year, or just one?
Two
Two.
CTs and one Tyler
So that'll
is the
put you
plan
through
right now.
11 in Ferguson and two for Tyler. So yeah,
Right.
you definitely want to stick with Tyler if you give Ferguson a break
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
while.
I think in 2022, this is planning way far ahead, which is not something I'm good at. I'd like to do at least two Tylers to get 3 and 4 out there, and to put CT number 12 out. Maybe 13. I do have the plot for 13, but you know, maybe that's all I do is 3 books that year too. I mean, who knows? It's 2 years from, well, only over a year from now. So who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, you need at least 12 because then you have 4 sets of 3.
Right. And I do tend to think of them in trilogies.
Yeah.
And if you read them they I think they kind of clump together in 3. I mean, each story of course stands by itself, but there are certain themes and certain things that tie each 3-book block together.
Yeah. And they're in Kindle and paperback.
Paperback.
Do you have audio yet?
I have audio for the first 2.
Oh,
Um, Yeah,
that's
and
good.
I just started an audio production on Findaway Voices for the Mechanic. So that's going to be the next one, and then at some point, I guess this year, 2021, I will come back to audio for CT. I'd like to get at least two more, so 3 and 4 of the CT series done in audio, which it takes time. It takes weeks for the narrator to put it together, and then you have to listen to it and send it back and yada yada yada. And
Yeah.
it's 3 months from the time you start it to the time you finish it. So there's only so many you can get done in a year. But I
Yeah.
like to at
Yeah.
least get a couple more done in audio. But they're also available. All my books now are wide, so they're on Kindle, Nook, Apple, Kobo, Google Play. They're in libraries, so any library should be able to get the ebook or the paperback, really, because I'm in the Ingram catalog too.
Nice. Yeah, and I've talked about that before on the show that if you go to Libby, it's I have a iPhone, so I'm
Mhm.
looking here to make sure I'm saying it right on my phone here. I think it's Libby. Yeah, Libby is the app, and if you go there, you put in your library card number.
Mhm.
And you can easily, if you can't get into your library, you can call them. My husband had to
Oh,
do that because he wanted a new library card. So he called, they gave him a new number. He went on to Libby, he added his number, and then you can request books. So if they don't have your favorite author or your favorite indie author, especially uh, in the library, then you can request those.
mhm.
And if they get enough requests, they will buy the books.
Nice.
So that's and then you get to read it free, and the author
Mhm.
still gets paid, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
That was one of the main things I think that drove me away from Kindle Unlimited as an author, was that the exclusivity extended to the libraries too. And it's like, libraries are not going to rise up and crush Amazon. It's just not going to happen.
No, yeah,
But I grew up in Baltimore near one of the Enoch Pratt Free Library branches, and I was in the library all the time. I didn't grow up with a ton of money. I had plenty of books because we bought them secondhand or whatever, and I got books from the library. And I wanted to put my books in the library, and it's like, I can't do this under KU. This is stupid. And so I went, why? That's one of the reasons, but that was a contributing factor. And now they are in libraries, and I get some of the library, some of the services like Overdrive and all that. They can certainly buy your book, but you get paid per checkout on some of them. So if someone reads your book, you get paid. It's 50 cents or 60 cents or whatever. But if people read your book enough, that starts to add up.
oh yeah, yeah, most definitely. And librarians, they're lovely people, and sometimes they
Yes.
will recommend a book. And even when they on the online libraries, they will have lists of librarian recommendations. And maybe you know a librarian, and you can get them to recommend a book that you like from one of your favorite indie authors. So these are all things that you listeners can do to
That's right.
help your favorite indie authors uh, earn a living. And, even with audiobooks, when those are rented, the author's paid. We're not
Mhm.
paid a lot,
Right.
but we still get paid. I think from Audible, my books are through Findaway Voice.
Hmm.
Find a way.
Hmm.
But they're distributed out, to all the different, I'm sure same with yours. And I think when I looked last, I don't look very often. It was like there's like 14.95 through Amazon, and I made like $1.50. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, come on. Why don't I make more money? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. My audio books right now are exclusive through ACX, which is at Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. Um, but I'm working on getting the rights. I'm working on taking them wide. The second one is still too new. If you go exclusive, you have to wait a year before you can ask to be let out of that, and that's not going to happen until I think June. But I'm hoping that I can get the first one out fairly soon because it's been way more than a year. I just have to go through the process of asking them to let it out of exclusivity,
And
and
then
then I
once
will
you
take it wide through Find a Way.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, and once you have three and it's a bundle, then all of a sudden you start getting downloads, a lot of
Yeah.
downloads, because then, excuse me, then the person's credit
Hmm.
isn't just for a 6 hour book; it's for maybe an 18 to 20 hour book,
Yeah.
and that's what people want. They want lots of content for that money, and then you can charge a higher price, and you still get then you make like what, $2 maybe. I don't know.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
seems like it's. I always think, come on, it's. But I'm very happy that Find a Way showed up on the scene, because you can then, through Find a Way, you can have the books sell directly from your website.
Hmm.
And BookFunnel now
Hmm.
also will let you sell direct um, for audiobooks. And I signed up for that, but I'm waiting for some fixes to my first audiobook uh, to be able to upload it. And so hopefully I can get that at least tried out a little bit before
Hmm.
I lose the free period that I'm signed up for.
Yeah, that's something I like to do this coming year too. Once I get my books out of the ACX exclusivity, but I am trying to. I'm setting up. I have Aereo. It's aer.io, I think. It allows you to do paperbacks. If your paperbacks are with Ingram, so if you're wide with print, you can set up an Aereo storefront and sell direct that way.
Oh, interesting. I'm gonna write that down. Hang on. How's it spelled?
aer.io, I think it's what it is. It's Aereo is the site. They're owned by Ingram. So if you have print books distributed through Ingram, you can very easily set up a storefront and just link to it and sell directly without having to send people to Amazon or Barnes and Noble or wherever. And I'm going through the process of doing the same with my ebooks through PayHip. And I'm using
Yes.
them. I'm using them because they do taxes, because I don't want to have to deal with someone in Texas bought my book and there's no income tax in Texas, but there is where I live. So what do I do? And they handle all of that because I don't have the time to figure all of that stuff out.
Yeah.
So I'm using PayHip and distribution through BookFunnel. So I think I have the first 4 books in my CT series set up. It doesn't take that long to do one. It's just I have to sit down and go through them all. So now, since I'm off this week for Christmas and New Year, that's one of the things I want to do this week is finish setting up all my books, to include the mechanic, on direct ebook distribution.
Oh, that's smart. And then you get paid a lot more. So people go and buy them from authors' websites
Right.
because
You still have to get people to go to your website, which is the challenge.
yeah. So tell everybody where your website is in
Yes,
case they're listening right now and want to go.
it's www.tomfowlerwrites.com. That's TOMFOWLERWRITES.com. I am going to, I just got a new theme uploaded. I'm going to make a few changes to it for the new year. So it may be up and down a little bit over the next few days while I work on it. But once it's back up, I'll have all the direct sales links and all that for the books.
Well, you should have it all finished before this airs. This will go up in January. I think the first Thursday in January.
Okay.
I'm looking at my schedule here.
I'll try.
I think it goes up January 7th.
Okay.
So you have until then to fix your website.
Okay. They're noted. Oh,
Check him out at tomfowlerwrites.com, and I will have links in the show notes. And that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye.
You'll find everything we chatted about in these show notes. If you'd like to comment on what you heard today, click on the comment word, which is pretty self explanatory, and that will take you over to the YouTube page, and I will see your comment. If you comment on whatever podcast site you're on, I will never find it. So do me a favor and keep them all in one place. Let me know what books you're reading, what books I need to read, what you thought of Tom. Have you read his books? Do you like them? All that stuff, all that jazz. I've got a great show for you next week. I've got DK Daly on talking about her young adult dystopian novels, and they are excellent. So tune in. I'll see you then. And in the meantime, go read a good book.